FS1, the NLCS continues with Game 3 as Mookie Betts and Cody Bellinger lead the Dodgers against Ronald Acuna Jr. and the Braves. Coverage begins at 5 Eastern on FS1 and the Fox Sports app.
I'll be watching that today. That was kind of wild yesterday. The Dodgers fell into a hole, came roaring back. These two teams should score runs, but the Dodgers were not hitting going into yesterday's game. So we're going to have a real series here going forward. Good stuff. By the way, you know, I said this earlier about the Tennessee-Buffalo game last night. It takes you 5 or 6 games to kind of feel, like Bill Belichick's always said, there's 2 seasons in the NFL. There's pre-Thanksgiving, there's post-Thanksgiving. What's interesting about Buffalo is everybody's, you know, beating up a little bit on Josh Allen. He had a really bad pick, but he had no time to throw. The question about Buffalo is going to be this. What about their defense? Because I watched Tennessee's offense, and I watched Baltimore's offense, and I watched Kansas City's offense, and I watched the Raiders' offense, and I watched the New England's offense with Cam, and I thought coming into this season, Buffalo's defense, it was number 2 in the NFL last year. I don't know what the answer is, and they were missing a couple guys last night. Buffalo's defense is not good enough to get to a Super Bowl today, not through the AFC. So Josh Allen's not the problem. Josh Allen made throws last night. It's insane looking. He's making throws that, like, I'm not even sure Mahomes can make some of these throws. He's not the issue. He didn't have a lot of time. He had one bad pick. But I don't know what happened to Buffalo's defense. Is it personnel? Is it coaching? Right now, it is not good enough to win the AFC. You're not going to beat Baltimore with that. You got clobbered by Tennessee. You're not beating Kansas City. And, I mean, they beat the Raiders a couple weeks ago, so I guess, you know, they're good enough to beat the Raiders. But if you look at them right now, third down percentage, they're 30th. Points a game, 21st. Passing yard. And last year they were great. So I don't know what happened because Sean McDermott's a great coach, but something's different with they're an offensive team now. And when their offense stalls, they're done. Joy with the news.
No.
Turn on the news.
This is the Herdline News, sponsored by Mercedes-Benz. The best or nothing.
The Rams hired new offensive and defensive coordinators before this season, and Sean McVay thinks that handing over some of the responsibility to his staff has helped him focus more on the team as a whole. He said, what I want to do is try and be more present with our team, be around defense, special teams, and the offense a little bit more, be around the staff members a little bit more. Adding those guys has been really huge in terms of being able to just kind of take a step back. That's definitely something that I'm trying to do.
Well, he's had this offense now, Joy, for several years, so Goff knows it. So you can hand a little bit of the responsibility off to Goff and Andrew Whitworth, the offensive line. There's a lot of, you don't have to be in every meeting now.
Right. And they've seen the results of it. Their offense has improved, 4th in total yards per game. They were 7th in 2019, 7th in rush yards per game. They were 26th in 2019. And their defense has improved across the board from 2019 to 2020 as well. Scoring defense, total defense, and pass defense are all in top 5 in the NFL this season.
I was shocked how they physically dominated Washington. Now, Washington's not as good at quarterback, but when you watch that game, it was like, oh, this is a mismatch. It's like a bad fight in the octagon. You're like, oh, this isn't close. Like, they couldn't block Aaron Donald. And, no, they're a bad call, that Buffalo game. Even though I won that bet, they're a bad call away from being undefeated.
I think your point, I agree with that call. That call was awful. Buffalo fans were freaking out. Like, it's okay. People get bad calls. The Rams will get over it, but you can just admit when it was a bad call. Like, sometimes they go your way, sometimes they don't, but it was a bad call. But to your point, when you have your system in place for a couple years, this is, to me, what great coaches and great leaders do. Just delegate a little bit. Hire great people so they can be great at their job so that you can take care of everything. Like, when you're the head coach, there's a lot more going on. We don't really think of head coaches in the pros the way that we do in college. But there is still a lot of interpersonal relationship stuff that that head coaches have to handle that we don't talk about it because, and obviously in college it's amateurs and they're much younger. But there's a lot that's on your plate as a head coach, especially in a year like this that you're dealing with. So being able to rely on your coordinators is massive. But that's what happens when you hire the right people. So during the Bucs' loss to the Bears last Thursday, Tom Brady was seen yelling at his teammates on the sideline.
And they're still very upset about it.
And Bruce Arians says he's perfectly fine with his quarterback doing that.
Just be yourself. I don't have any problem with it. Well, at least I don't have to go back there and cuss them out. They've already got the air full by the time I get over there. So Tom's got to be Tom. I'm not going to ask him to be somebody different. He does a good job of patting him on the back, too. He might explode, but he's going to go down there and pat him on the back and get him going.
Leadership. Troy Aikman used to bark at guys. Like, leadership's hard.
You know, Arians said last week that having Tom out there is like having another coach on the field. Obviously, he has a wealth of experience, but this is part of the deal when you bring in someone like Tom Brady. Like, this is not new, right? He would do this in New England.
Oh, he did it in New England.
All the time.
Yes.
All the time. And really, if you pay attention to it, because we talk about it at least once a year, a quarterback getting in, other guys' faces or somebody having a meltdown on the sidelines, and we act like this is a big deal. But the reality is, where football is clearly a microcosm of society, it is also, in the same token, very different than everywhere other kind of workplace. Like,
right.
This is intensity. You're not running full speed directly into your coworkers or your peers.
Yes.
For 3 hours straight.
No, the testosterone. These games are urgent. Like, and another thing is, when you do have a problem, Joey, you may have 12 seconds to get through. You got to be like, boom, let's do it, let's go.
And there's high stakes, high responsibility, high level of consequences if you don't win. Forget the money and everything else. You're talking about jobs. You're talking about there's a lot of pressures in this situation. It's a very high pressure situation. You and I both played sports growing up. Sure, you had coaches yell at you.
Oh, God.
I had coaches yell at me.
It's just the way you got to get over it.
But at the end of the day, it's who is yelling at you. Because
Right.
I had coaches who I knew had no idea what they were talking about. Not that I knew more, but I knew other coaches knew what they were talking about, and this particular coach didn't. The only way he could communicate was just to yell.
Yeah.
And that's not effective. That ain't the case with Tom Brady. Yeah. There's no one on that team that can tell Tom Brady anything at all. The only person I'm sure he even allows to do that is Bruce Arians, because he's the coach and he wants to be coach. But you can't just, it's okay to get yelled at by the greatest to ever do it. It's going to make you better. Finally, Ty Lue has been mentioned in many NBA head coaching searches this year.
Yes.
And he is the front runner. He's been a front runner for the Clippers, but Houston is also emerging as a top contender. According to Woj, Lue gains significant momentum in becoming the Rockets' next head coach after the meeting with ownership on Monday.
I thought he's a Clippers guy.
Well, apparently Houston has emerged as a top contender for him as well. Jeff Van Gundy is also expected to meet with Houston this week.
Well, who's taking the Clipper job?
Well, it's basically between Lue and Jeff Van Gundy for Clippers and Houston.
Oh, okay, so I would take the Clipper job, though.
If you're Ty Lue?
Yeah. I think Kawhi, listen, the Paul George issue is what it is, but the team plays well together when they play together. And I think Houston's just, I said this morning, it's the worst good job in sports. The Westbrook Harden thing over time is not going to be a great playoff.
I mean, I would take the Clippers situation. It's more seamless for Ty Lue.
Let's not sell all our stock because the Ravens lost to the Chiefs and the Clippers lost in the playoffs. Like, they're really good teams.
I don't think anyone should overreact to what happened with the Clippers. And I do think everyone needs to keep in perspective that the West is going to look very different next year, as will the East. Again, KD is coming back. It's going to be a different situation. Yeah. The Miami Heat are going to be a year older. Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn are not going to be rookies anymore. They just went through finals series against LeBron James. Like, Boston's going to come back with a chip on their shoulder. The Phoenix Suns were incredible in the bubble. They're a developing team. Like, everything's not going to be as simple as it was this year. Not simple, but like, it's not going to be a repeat of what we saw this year. Like, the league is going to look a little bit different. The Warriors, like, there's a lot that's going to change. So, I mean, Ty Lue, as the Cavs head coach, has a 128 and 83 regular season record, 3 straight finals appearances.
Yeah, he doesn't take BS. So he'll call out Westbrook and he'll call out Paul George. So the thing about
I think he's a good fit either place.
Yeah, no. I like, there's places Mike D'Antoni doesn't work. Ty Lue will get in. His reputation is he'll get in LeBron's face. And you have to, when you have a star, like Paul George needs a talking to, and sometimes James Harden, you got to sit down and tell him the truth, and he doesn't want to hear it. Ty
Lue's respected, and he's proven he is able to work with superstars.
Yes,
he's won the championship.
Good stuff, Joe, over the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
Former NFL, DB, Packers, Giants, Washington, good dude, wine sommelier. Not kidding, he's good. He knows his stuff. He'll be joining us. Seeing the check engine light comes on in your car gives a lot of people anxiety because a lot of people aren't, car freaks. They don't know everything about cars. Most people don't. I don't. Car Shield helps you out. They're a warranty when yours runs out. They offer a wide range of protection plans. Save you thousands of dollars. You pick the mechanic, even pick the dealership to do the work where you bought the car. Doesn't matter. Car Shield does the rest. No long-term contract or commitment. Payments are flexible. Car Shield plans are customizable. They start as low as $99 a month, and they've helped over 1 million drivers. That's why they're America's #1 auto protection company. The reality is you pick the mechanic. It's real easy. They do the rest. Even if you're on the road traveling and your car breaks down, your choice of repair shop, up to you. Don't dread car repairs. Go to carshield.com, code HERD. Carshield.com, code HERD. A deductible may apply. It'll save you 10% if you use the code HERD. They also have a phone number, 800-665, 800-665-2157. Also mention the code HERD.